When I gave up everything to move abroad, my sister and my childhood friend, who were pretending to have amnesia, warned me with cold faces, "Pack your things and get out. People like you aren't welcome in our home with Marcus." I just nodded faintly, agreeing. After all, I was about to leave them for good. But when I hadn't contacted them for 3 months, they both called, claiming their memories had returned and wanting to invite me to a family dinner. I said, "No, thank you. You have your dear Marcus. That's enough." It wasn't like they ever enjoyed bringing me along. Anyway, my sister Victoria invited me again, saying, "That brownstone mom left you. Marcus's income is stable now, so the deed should be returned to you. Where are you living? Give me your address." I paused. "Don't worry about it. Let him have it. I don't need it anymore." Her voice softened. "It's the only thing Mom left for you to remember her by." Listening to her, I could only feel the irony. I added, "It's not necessary. And while we're at it, don't contact me again. As far as I'm concerned, we're done." I could hear the two of them crying on the other end. In the past, I would have been heartbroken and rushed to comfort them. Now, I just calmly hung up, saving myself the trouble of their disturbance. All because my sister gave our mother's inheritance to our stepmother's son. I didn't cry or throw a tantrum. I just quietly ordered a 5-gallon can of gasoline on my phone. My childhood friend Amber saw it and sneered. "What? Are you going to set yourself on fire to go be with your mother?" Victoria, driven by guilt, tried to explain. "Marcus doesn't have an income. I'm just letting him collect the rent from Mom's brownstone for a few years." I cut her off calmly. "Don't worry about it. Just give it to him." They both froze, surprised by how reasonable I was being. But no one knew better than them how much my mother meant to me, and that brownstone was the only thing I had left of her. Now, the two most important women in my life were using it to please the men I despised more than anyone. Amber then added, "Don't worry. Once Marcus's income is stable, I'll honor my childhood promise and marry you." I silently packed all of my belongings, thinking to myself, "I'm not waiting for you anymore." But before I left, there was one last thing I had to do, something to sever all ties between us for good. The next day was the anniversary of my mother's death. I waited for a long time, but Victoria never showed up. I called her 3 times in a row, but no one answered. The 4th call was finally answered, but it was Marcus's mother on the line. "Nathan, are you calling for Victoria? Today is the anniversary of my mother's death." "Oh dear, it's the anniversary of her passing. We're just awful. Our dog just had a litter of puppies today, and Victoria and Marcus are so taken with them, they completely forgot. It's probably too late to make it over now. What a shame. Who's on the phone?" "Mom, it's Nathan. I think he's angry." "What should I do, Victoria?" "Hello, Nathan." Victoria's voice came through the phone. I hung up immediately. On the headstone, my mother's black and white photograph gazed down at me, her smile full of love and warmth. It was a beautiful April day, but as I knelt on the ground, I felt as if I had plunged into a frozen abyss. I hugged her headstone. "It's okay, Mom. At least I will never, ever forget you." After returning from the lawyer's office, I had just arrived back at the house when I saw them, Amber, Victoria, and Marcus. Marcus stood between them, holding a huge bouquet of flowers, beaming with joy. My eyes, however, were drawn to the watch on Marcus's wrist. When I got a clear look, my entire body started to shake with rage. It was a custom diamond watch, the one Mom had left for me. I treasured it so much I rarely ever wore it out, and I never imagined I would see it on Marcus's wrist. "Victoria, what right do you have to give him the watch Mom left for me?" I pointed at Marcus, my eyes burning red. Victoria pressed her lips together, looking uneasy. "Nathan." Marcus had already lowered his head, reaching to take off the watch. "I'm sorry, Nathan. I didn't know it was an heirloom from your mother. I'll give it back right now." He started to cry as he spoke, playing the perfect victim. Victoria's heart immediately went out to him. "Marcus, don't take it off. It's a gift from me." Then she turned to me. "A watch is just an object, Nathan. If Marcus likes it, let him have it. I'll buy you a much better one." A pain like 1,000 cuts ripped through my heart, and my voice trembled. Mom left that for me, Victoria. You have no right to give it away. I would rather smash it to pieces than let the son of that homewrecker wear it. A flash of anger and embarrassment crossed Victoria's face. Nathan, don't be so malicious toward Marcus. What do the problems of our parents' generation have to do with him? Marcus just bowed his head and cried silently. Amber stepped forward to wipe his tears, then turned to me. Nathan, don't go too far. Besides, it's just a stupid watch. She ripped the watch from his wrist and threw it violently on the ground. Come on, I'll buy you a better, more expensive one right now. Victoria glanced at me. Nathan, why do you always have to be so immature and make such a scene? Marcus has been through so much. He's had such a hard life, and you can't even find it in you to accept him. You're a grown man. Why can't you be more magnanimous? She tried to pull me to my feet. Nathan, I pushed her hand away and suddenly smiled. Victoria. It was the last time I would ever call her my sister. The last time I would ever look at her with such sincerity. You will get what you deserve. Victoria frowned but couldn't meet my gaze. Nathan, I'll make it up to you in the future. With that, she hurried off, chasing after Amber and Marcus. I crouched down and picked up the watch. Thankfully, it was well made and hadn't broken, just a few tiny scratches marred its surface. I pressed it against my chest and stayed there for a long time. I didn't cry. I didn't even feel the urge to. I only felt the twisting pain in my heart grow sharper until it finally faded into numbness. Late that night, I tossed a thick stack of letters into the fireplace, then picked up a photograph. In it, Amber and Victoria stood on either side of me, all of us beaming with brilliant smiles. Looking at it now, it was just a sick joke. I lit the corner of the photo, watching as the fire consumed our smiling faces, turning them to ash. My eyes reflected the flames, and as the letters burned, I caught glimpses of the words inside. Victoria had written, I will always love and protect my little brother. We'll be the closest siblings in the world. And Amber, when I grow up, I'm going to marry Nathan and make him my husband. I'll love him forever. We'll have 2 babies, a boy and then a girl. They had both made such earnest promises to me, and I had made my own in return. They both used to say I was more important to them than their own lives. But now the letters were old and yellowed, the black ink fading, just like those laughable vows, destined to scatter in the wind. The letter burned to ash, searing my fingertips. I let go, allowing it to drift down onto the formal suit lying on the floor. The flames grew, catching the curtains and a wooden chest, sending plumes of thick smoke billowing outside. I stood frozen, my face flushed from the heat, my eyes watering from the smoke. Suddenly, Amber called. I didn't answer. A moment later, Victoria called. I declined it, too. As I was about to block their numbers, an iMessage from Amber came through. Nathan, no matter what, Marcus is your brother. I hope you can congratulate him on this important moment in his life. He really wants your blessing. I'll buy you that sports car you like tomorrow and bring it back for you. Stop being so childish. An iMessage from Victoria followed. Nathan, I promise I will make it up to you. Doubly so. As for Mom's watch, I'll have an identical one custom made. Please, can you forgive me? I wanted to laugh, and finally I did, tears streaming down my face. The classic carrot and stick. It was always this, their little acts of kindness after the cruelty, that kept me holding on to hope, that turned me into the lunatic they saw me as. I sent back 2 replies. To Amber, I won't wish him well. I'll only wish for him and his mother to rot in hell. To Victoria, why don't you go ask Mom for forgiveness in her grave? After sending the messages, I blocked and deleted all of their contact information. I grabbed my suitcase, took one last look at the house filled with so many memories, and walked away without a backward glance. Everything was taken care of. I had nothing left to hold on to here. Shortly after I left, the night wind knocked over a burning candle. It started as a small flame, but the dry air fed it, helping it grow larger and larger until tongues of fire devoured the entire house, turning the place that held all my memories into a pile of rubble. Marcus, dressed in a custom-tailored suit, was waiting backstage, about to accept an award. Amber's phone rang. Annoyed, she pulled it out to silence it, but saw an iMessage pop up on the screen. Amber, call me back ASAP. Something's happened to Nathan. Amber scoffed, thinking of the message Nathan had just sent. Her annoyance grew into hatred. She replied carelessly, what kind of stunt is he pulling now? Marcus was about to go on stage. She had neither the time nor the energy to deal with Nathan. He was obviously just trying to ruin Marcus's big moment. The friend called again immediately, and she impatiently declined it. Marcus looked over at her, nervous. Amber, I'm a little scared. Amber squeezed his hand. Relax. I'll be right here with you. When Marcus's name was called, Amber smoothed an imaginary wrinkle on his suit and smiled as he walked toward the stage. The spotlight found him, and in that moment, he was the center of everyone's world. Marcus took a deep breath, a faint smile on his face, and walked up to the podium. Her phone rang again. Amber answered, and her friend's frantic voice filled her ear. Amber, Nathan's in trouble. The Bennett house burned down last night. By the time anyone noticed, it was just a ruin, and Nathan was still inside. He never came out. The police say it's unlikely he survived. Amber just sneered. Don't think I don't know what he's up to. You can tell Nathan to give it up. I'm not falling for it. Before her friend could say another word, she hung up, and to avoid any more hassle, turned her phone off completely. Just as she put her phone away, Victoria's began to ring. It was the same friend. As she went to answer, Amber reached over and declined the call. It's just Nathan pulling another stunt. Ignore him. Marcus's ceremony is what's important. Victoria frowned. What is he trying to do now? What do you think? He's just trying to trick us into running back to him. He can't stand seeing us here supporting Marcus, so he's trying to ruin it and make Marcus upset. Victoria's frown deepened, and she turned her phone off, too. He's getting completely out of hand. Nathan's too arrogant. It's time we taught him a lesson, Amber said with a cold smile. You're right. The applause from the audience was thunderous. Amber and Victoria clapped along, their eyes fixed on the slender figure on stage, while Marcus smiled down at them sweetly. I want to thank two people for helping me win this award, my mentor and my sister. Without them, I wouldn't be who I am today. Thank you. Amber and Victoria both wore identical, gentle smiles. Their gazes followed Marcus as if he were the only person in the world. The ceremony ended, and to celebrate Marcus's win, Amber and Victoria took him on vacation. On the way to the resort, Marcus asked about the phone calls. Did Nathan call you guys? I thought I heard his name right before I went on stage. Don't worry about him. He's just pulling his old tricks, trying to start a fire to get our attention. Don't say that, Amber, Marcus said softly. Nathan just wants your attention. He doesn't mean any harm. It's all my fault. If you and Victoria weren't with me, he wouldn't have done something so crazy. Maybe we should go back and check on him. If he gets mad and yells at me, I'll just pretend I don't hear him. Marcus's eyes were moist, like a gentle wounded kitten. Amber stroked his face tenderly. Marcus, you're just too kind. That's why he always bullies you. Victoria chimed in. Don't blame yourself, Marcus. Nathan is the one who's arrogant and cruel. Just then, Victoria's phone rang. The caller identified himself as an officer with the NYPD, asking if she was a relative of Nathan Bennett. Before Victoria could answer, Amber snorted. The police. Nathan's got some nerve, hiring someone to impersonate a cop. My badge number is 010XX. We received a call early this morning about a fire at a residence in the Southgate Estates. Surveillance footage shows Mr. Bennett entering the house and not emerging before it was completely destroyed. The scene was badly burned, but we recovered a few personal effects that likely belonged to him. The sneer on Amber's face deepened. Playing dead. Tell Nathan that trick won't work either. He can just give it up. She snatched Victoria's phone and blocked the number. A menace like Nathan wouldn't die that easily. Their private jet landed on a small idyllic island owned by Amber's family, where everything had been arranged to Marcus's liking. That afternoon, while they were out deep-sea fishing, Amber happened to scroll past a news alert from New York. The report stated that a house in the Southgate Estates had caught fire late at night. By the time firefighters arrived, it had already burned to the ground. The blaze was so intense and the scene so unstable that no body could be recovered. Police reviewed security footage from the area and confirmed no one had left the property, leading to the preliminary conclusion that the occupant had most likely perished in the fire. Amber's finger twitched as she swiped past the article, her mind going blank for a second. "Amber, smile for me," Marcus said, moving closer with a selfie stick, his light cologne filling the air. Amber leaned into his embrace, posing for the picture. "This one's good, don't you think?" Marcus murmured, his lips brushing against her eyelashes as he leaned in. They kissed, the atmosphere growing heavy with intimacy. Out on the villa's terrace, Victoria held her phone, feeling a wave of uncertainty. After a long hesitation, she found Nathan's number and called. "The number you have dialed is currently busy. Please try again later." She tried twice before it dawned on her, Nathan had blocked her. Victoria slammed her phone on the table in anger, but a strange sense of panic began to creep in. She thought about the police call and the news report, and the unease in her heart grew heavier. But then she remembered Nathan's recent tantrums and the fire he'd threatened to start, and her expression hardened. He needed to be taught a serious lesson, or he would only get more out of control. A week later, their vacation over, they returned to New York. Amber eagerly brought Marcus to her family's home. Mrs. Hayes was sitting in the grand living room. She ignored Marcus's greeting and looked at her daughter with deep disappointment. "I have failed as a mother. It's been only a few days since Nathan's accident, and you bring his father's illegitimate son here. He was your childhood friend, Amber. How can you be so heartless?" Mrs. Hayes had been very close with Nathan's mother, and after she passed away, she had always treated Nathan like her own son. Amber shot Marcus a reassuring glance before retorting dismissively, "Mom, you've been fooled by Nathan. He only burned the house for attention. Someone as arrogant as him would never have the guts to actually die." Mrs. Hayes stared at her for a long moment, then shook her head with a sigh. "Power and money have come too easily for you, Amber. They've stripped you of your warmth and left only the cold indifference of someone in charge. You treat everything like a business negotiation. If you won't believe me, then believe the police. Go to the station with Victoria right now and collect Nathan's personal effects. Then you'll see whether or not he was lying." Amber's expression flickered, but her voice remained firm. "Impossible. The last time Nathan threatened to start a fire, it was just to lure me and Victoria over." Marcus spoke up. "Mrs. Hayes, you've misunderstood. It's just that Nathan has tricked Amber before, so she has a hard time believing him." "Then go see for yourself if it's true," his mother replied. Amber's chest rose and fell rapidly. She nodded again and again. "Fine, I'll go right now. I want to see what kind of game he's playing this time." She spun around and strode out, her heels clicking sharply on the floor, completely forgetting Marcus. She only stopped, stunned, when he came running after her, out of breath. For some reason, a terrible premonition suddenly gripped her heart so tight she could hardly breathe. In the car, Amber's expression was dark as a storm cloud. "The number you have dialed is not available at this time. Please try again later." She heard the message 3 times in a row. Then she tried Victoria's number, but there was no answer. Marcus, noticing that Amber wasn't even glancing at him, clutched his arm and let out a soft hiss of pain. She didn't react. After 2 failed calls, Amber's irritation boiled over, her eyes flashing with anger. "Drive faster." The driver complied, pressing harder on the gas. Marcus gently put an arm around her shoulder. "Amber, don't be upset." Normally, she would have softened at his touch, but this time, she didn't lean into his embrace. Instead, she frowned and silently pulled away. A powerful wave of anxiety washed over her. Marcus said, "Amber, do you think something really happened to Nathan? He's always been so pampered." Amber conveniently forgot that Nathan had trained in martial arts for years. She sneered. "You're right. He's lived a spoiled life. He couldn't handle real pain. This has to be another one of his tricks to fool me." Marcus handed her a cup of water. "Nathan just cares about you so much that he's not thinking straight. Don't be mad at him. It's all my fault for not being able to get him to like me." But Amber didn't seem to hear him. She gave no response at all. Her face was calm, but it held the stillness of the air before a violent storm. A shiver went down Marcus's spine. He put the cup down and didn't dare speak again. From the very beginning of their relationship, Amber had always been the one in control. The car rounded the final corner and pulled into the Southgate Estates. Amber got out, her mind reeling in disbelief. It was the right place, but all that stood before her was a ruin. It was obvious the fire had burned long and hot. Most everything had been reduced to ash. The cinders, soaked by the fire hoses, were now just a black slurry seeping into the scorched ground. In the middle of the wreckage, Victoria was on her knees, her hands hanging at her sides, dripping blood. Amber suddenly remembered the news report she'd seen on the yacht. Her friend had been telling the truth. The call from the police had been real. Amber stumbled forward, her face ashen. She stared at Victoria and whispered, "What happened? How could this happen in just a few days?" Nathan wasn't lying this time. The house is really gone. Victoria shot to her feet, her eyes bloodshot, and slapped Amber hard across the face. Caught off guard, Amber stumbled backward. Marcus cried out and rushed to help her, but she shoved him aside, lunged forward, and slapped Victoria back. They started fighting, scratching, and hitting each other until they were both bruised and exhausted, finally being pulled apart by onlookers. Victoria collapsed onto the ground, her face a deathly gray. "Why did I listen to your lies? Why didn't I answer the phone? If I had just believed him, if I had come back. No, Nathan has to be in there. I have to dig him out." She scrambled toward the wreckage like a madwoman and began digging through the debris with her bare hands. Her friends tried to stop her, but she wouldn't listen. But Amber wiped the blood from her face and stood up. "They said they didn't find a body, right? Nathan has to be alive. He's just angry, so he burned the house down to make us think he was dead." A spark of light returned to Victoria's dull eyes. "Yes, you're right. Nathan isn't dead. I'll send people to find him right now." She scrambled to her feet and staggered off. "Amber." Marcus cried out, trying to follow them, but he missed his footing and fell hard onto the charred debris. Victoria didn't seem to hear him. Amber didn't even pause, just told her assistant to take Marcus to the hospital before getting in her car and driving away. The two cars sped off and quickly vanished from sight. Amber and Victoria arrived at the police station one after the other. Victoria identified herself and asked to see the security footage. After they had watched it, a young officer brought out Nathan's personal effects. "The footage confirms Mr. Bennett never left the house. It's highly probable he died in the fire. These are some of the items we recovered from the scene." Inside a clear evidence bag were 2 diamonds and the charred remains of a red bracelet. The cut of the diamonds was identical to the ones on the watch Nathan's mother had left him. When Victoria saw them, the color drained completely from her face, leaving it a terrifying shade of white. "It's his bracelet and the diamonds from the watch," Victoria whispered. Her voice choked and hoarse, as if her throat were stuffed with cotton. It felt like hands were tearing at her heart from the inside, an unbearable pain, an overwhelming wave of regret crashing over her, drowning her completely. Amber felt the world spin. Her vision swam in and out of blackness, and she nearly collapsed. By the time Marcus arrived, Amber was in a terrible state. "Amber, what happened to Nathan?" Before he could finish, she whipped her head around to face him, her expression utterly terrifying. Marcus's pupils trembled. "Amber, what's wrong?" Her eyes were bloodshot, her voice a harsh whisper. "It's all your fault. Nathan did this because of you. Before you showed up, the 3 of us were fine. You're the one who turned us against him. You bastard, you made me misunderstand him. Marcus, I will destroy you." "Amber, I know you're heartbroken that Nathan is gone," Marcus started, his eyes welling up with tears as he gave her his most pathetic look, hoping for sympathy. But before he could finish, Amber shoved him away violently. Marcus quickly turned to Victoria for help, but she just looked away coldly. He stood there frozen, a deep chill spreading through his heart. He knew that with Nathan gone, his life was about to become a living hell. "I settled down in a small, quiet town in Europe. The pace of life was slow. I'd wake up without an alarm, go to the market for groceries, and cook for myself. After eating, I'd work on my design sketches or just draw whatever interested me. In my free time, I'd go for long walks, thinking about nothing at all, just letting my mind be empty. Occasionally, news from back home would find its way to me. For instance, I heard that my death had made the news and that Amber and Victoria were using all their resources to utterly destroy Marcus and his mother. Victoria leaked online that Marcus's award-winning design was actually stolen from me, his own stepbrother, and she provided a mountain of evidence. Marcus, who had been the toast of the town, instantly became a social pariah. On top of that, Amber and Victoria took back every expensive gift they had ever given him. His mother was publicly outed as a homewrecker, and he as her illegitimate son. When I saw news about them now, I felt nothing. The sun rose each morning, bathing the world in light, and I knew this was my new beginning. After a month, I started looking for a job under my new identity. 9 days later, I was hired. My new colleagues were friendly and welcoming. My boss, a stylish and sharp woman named Rachel, helped me a lot as I was getting started. Slowly but surely, I found my footing at the company. Almost 2 years flew by. I made new friends, and a few women showed interest in me. Some even pursued me directly, but I had no desire to start a relationship. I entered a major international design competition and made it through the preliminary rounds. The finals were being held in a neighboring country, and with so much attention on the event, I was preparing diligently. One day, my boss, Rachel, told me the company was planning a partnership with a firm in San Francisco and wanted to send me on the business trip. She looked up from her computer. "You have an Asian background and speak fluent Mandarin, which will make communication much smoother." I tried to get out of it. "But it's such an important project. I'm not sure I'm qualified." The United States was where Amber and Victoria were. I didn't want to set foot there, even if it was just San Francisco. I had to avoid any possibility of running into them. Rachel gave me a reassuring smile. "The travel roster has already been submitted. Besides, I'll be going with you. Don't worry, everything will be fine." I had no choice but to prepare for the trip. That night, to make sure I wouldn't run into them in San Francisco, I logged into an old iMessage group chat I hadn't used in years. There were about 20 people in it, all from my old life, and it was always active. I had no interest in scrolling through their posts about their lavish lifestyles, so I just searched for Amber's and Victoria's names. In the past 2 years, Amber had utterly destroyed Marcus's reputation, though she hadn't come out unscathed herself. A year and a half ago, Marcus had caused a massive scene at one of the Hayes family's companies, spreading all sorts of half-truth stories about his affair with Amber, which made their stock price plummet. After that, Victoria had them thrown out, and they left New York for some smaller city. But with Amber and Victoria keeping tabs on them, I knew their lives couldn't be easy. From the chat history, I learned that Amber was on a business trip in Los Angeles, and no one knew where Victoria was. Finding no other useful information, I closed the app. 5 days later, I flew to San Francisco with Rachel and 2 other colleagues. The trip was only for a week. I figured the odds of running into them were slim. Once I arrived, I decided to stay in my hotel room unless it was absolutely necessary to go out. The night before we were scheduled to leave, I attended a farewell dinner at a well-known private club. As I walked in, I felt a pair of eyes on me, but when I looked around, I saw no one. A feeling of unease settled over me. Halfway through the dinner, I excused myself to the restroom, planning to slip away. To be safe, I headed for the back exit. The San Francisco traffic was heavy, so I waited for a car under the shade of a tree. Suddenly, I heard the rapid click of high heels on the pavement behind me, a sound that was all too familiar. A strange sense of calm washed over me as the footsteps came to a halt right behind me. Amber's voice, trembling and cautious, broke the silence. "Nathan, is that you?" I didn't turn around, just kept my eyes on my phone. She walked around to face me, staring, then took a slow step forward. "Nathan, I know it's you." I looked up, feigning confusion. "Ma'am, are you talking to me?" In the past 2 years, my style and the way I carried myself had changed completely. Amber's eyes were red, shimmering with tears. "Nathan, I know you're still angry with me. It was Marcus. He tricked me. That's why I did all those things to hurt you. But I regret it so much, Nathan. I really know I was wrong." Marcus's tricks had never been sophisticated. They were downright crude, but she and Victoria had believed him without a second thought. I had tried more than once to mend things, only to be met with even worse humiliation from Amber. The woman I loved and my own sister had both chosen to side with him. His mother was the woman who destroyed my parents' marriage. He and his mother were strangers to me. The ones who truly wounded me were Amber and Victoria, the two people I valued most, my childhood sweetheart and my own flesh and blood. And they had taken a knife and plunged it into my heart again and again, leaving me bleeding and broken. Nearly 2 years had passed. The wounds had closed, but they left deep scars. The pain was gone, and so was the power of the people who had inflicted it. They couldn't cause a single ripple in my heart anymore. I called the police. I hadn't seen her in so long, and she had lost all her former radiance. She just looked defeated. I had always imagined that without me around to bother her, she'd be sad for a few days and then go on living happily with Marcus. I never thought I meant so much to her. Not that it mattered anymore. The police arrived quickly. "This woman has mistaken me for someone else and won't stop harassing me," I said with a helpless expression, pulling out my ID. "My name is Daniel Rivers." "It's always been Daniel Rivers." "No, you're Nathan Bennett, not Daniel Rivers. We grew up together." "I could never mistake you," Amber insisted, even after looking at the ID. "Then what proof do you have?" I asked. She was speechless. I knew she didn't have a single photograph of me. I had even gone to Mrs. Hayes's house personally to get back our childhood photos. Before I left, I burned every last one. I let out a small laugh. "See, you can't produce a single piece of evidence. Who's going to believe you when you just claim I'm someone you know?" Amber's expression fell. She lowered her head as 2 tears rolled down her cheeks. After a moment, she looked up. "Nathan, I know you hate me, but it's okay. I'll make it up to you little by little. I'm having the house rebuilt exactly as it was. Promise. Whenever you have time, I can take you to see it." I didn't want to hear any of it. I asked the officers to keep her away from me and went back to my hotel. After explaining to Rachel why I'd left the dinner, I opened my laptop to book the first available flight out of the country. At 8 the next morning, I opened my door, and just as I expected, Amber was waiting outside. Her clothes were wrinkled and her makeup was smudged. The dark circles under her eyes made it clear she hadn't slept. When she saw me, she straightened up from where she was leaning against the wall, a light coming into her eyes. "Nathan, you're awake." "I told you, my name isn't Nathan," I said flatly. "Instead of wasting your time harassing me, you should go look for the person you're actually searching for." I walked right past her and headed for the elevator. She followed. "By noon at the latest, Marcus and his mother will be here to kneel and apologize to you personally." Even hiding in that small city, they couldn't escape her revenge. Their savings were gone, and they were forced to live frugally. When that wasn't enough, they had to resort to payday loans just to survive. I ignored her and went down to the lobby to meet my colleagues. Amber followed, keeping a small distance. "Who was that?" Rachel asked. "She's beautiful, and she seems to really like you." I kept my eyes on my phone, answering without looking up. "I don't know her." Right before boarding, there was suddenly a problem with my ticket, and I couldn't get on the flight. I wasn't surprised. Knowing Amber, there was no way she would just let me leave without doing something. I told Rachel and the others to go on ahead while I stayed behind to sort it out. I grabbed my suitcase and scanned the terminal, easily spotting Amber. Despite the early spring chill, she wore a stylish camel coat, her long wavy hair falling perfectly over her shoulders. Her striking features and figure made her stand out in any crowd. She was staring at me hopefully. I crooked a finger, beckoning her over. A flash of joy crossed her face as she hurried over. "Nathan, you messed with my flight," I stated. It wasn't a question. She admitted it without hesitation. "I did. I couldn't just let you leave." I looked at her, my voice cold. "Do you know why I left?" "Because in my heart, you and Victoria are already dead. To me, you're less than strangers." Panic flashed in her eyes. "Nathan, I know I was wrong. I'll do anything to make it up to you. Please, just give me a chance." Her voice was pleading, a stark contrast to the proud, untouchable woman she used to be. No. You weren't tricked by Marcus. You just assumed that because I cared so much, because I was so loyal, I would never leave you. You knew that besides the two of you, I had no one. Luckily for me, you were cruel enough to give me sleepless nights filled with so much pain that I was finally able to rip out every last feeling I had for you. The color drained from Amber's face, leaving her eyes shockingly red. She opened her mouth to speak. Nat. Don't say my name. It makes me sick to hear it from you. She looked away, flustered. Victoria is on her way here. Can you just see her before you go, please? No, I refused flatly. I just want to get as far away from both of you as I can. When I got back to the hotel, Victoria was already there. She was holding a thick folder of documents, and her eyes reddened the moment she saw me. Nathan, I got everything back. Everything I gave to Marcus. It can all be transferred to your name right now. You just have to sign. The hand holding the papers was trembling. I'm not asking you to forgive me right away. I'm just asking for a chance to make things right. But no matter how sincere she sounded, my expression remained blank. I felt nothing. I had truly let them go, even if the process had been so agonizing it nearly tore me apart. No, thank you, I said, looking at her. I won't forgive you, but I won't get revenge either. Victoria, Amber, I'm only going to say this once, don't try to make it up to me. I don't need it. Just leave me alone. Victoria's pale lips trembled, but she said nothing. She knew me. If I had screamed, cursed her, or started breaking things, there would still be a chance for us. But my calmness, my lack of any accusation, told her everything she needed to know. There was no going back. Marcus and his mother were brought before me by Amber's men. I could barely recognize the woman as Marcus's mother. She wore dark, plain clothes, no makeup, and the fine lines around her eyes and graying hair made her look 20 years older. Marcus, too, was gaunt and haggard, all his youthful energy gone. It was clear the last 2 years had been hell for them. I have to admit, seeing them like this brought me a grim satisfaction, but that feeling was quickly followed by a wave of sadness. I remembered how well Amber and Victoria had treated Marcus, how respectful Victoria had been to his mother. I had suffered so much because of their favoritism, and yet the moment I was gone, they turned on them just as quickly. Their love and their hate were both so cheap. I admit I hated Marcus and his mother. I despised them. But now I despised Amber and Victoria even more. If Marcus and his mother were pure evil, then Amber and Victoria were the foolish, arrogant enablers who gave them power. I didn't want to see Marcus's pathetic state, and I certainly didn't want to see them. I've seen who you wanted me to see. Can I go now? Victoria stood frozen, looking utterly lost. Amber had Marcus and his mother taken away, then turned to me with a bleak, miserable smile. Nathan, even if you hate me for it, I'm never letting you leave again. I was forced to stay, remaining at the hotel. Amber was used to using her power and influence to solve any problem. In the days that followed, they both tried everything to please me, but I gave them nothing. I stopped speaking to them, and eventually, I stopped eating. In the end, Victoria couldn't take it anymore. After talking with Amber, she agreed to let me go. On my 17th day in San Francisco, I finally boarded a flight home. I knew without a doubt that Amber and Victoria were on the same plane. After a long flight, I got home and slept for what felt like a day. When I woke up, I noticed the young couple in the apartment next door had moved out, and new tenants were already moving in. It didn't take a genius to figure out who my new neighbors were. And sure enough, over the next few weeks, I started running into Amber and Victoria constantly. One evening, coming home from dinner with friends, I saw Amber standing under a streetlight, looking utterly dejected. She straightened up when she saw me, forcing a smile. Nathan, you're home. I ignored her and kept walking. She pulled a small, ornate box from her pocket and opened it. I had this made for you. I think it would look good on you. It was a beautiful watch covered in gemstones. I noticed the cuts and scars on her hands, but I only glanced for a second before looking away. I don't want it. Nathan, what do I have to do to make you forgive me? Amber's voice, on the verge of breaking, called out from behind me. I stopped and turned back to face her. disappear from my life forever. Then I'll forgive you." She looked like she was about to shatter into a million pieces. "Nathan," she whispered, "you're so cruel." I just laughed softly and walked away without another glance. After that night, Amber didn't show up for several days, and I was grateful for the peace. I poured all my energy into the design competition, spending all my free time sketching. I passed the next round and submitted my design for the semifinals. 5 days later, I got the news: I was a finalist. To celebrate, I invited Rachel and a few colleagues over for dinner. While I was prepping food, the doorbell rang. It was Victoria. She held out a box. "I picked this up from that Michelin-starred restaurant. It's all your favorites. I've told you many times I don't need anything from you. Stop wasting your time." The smile on her face was sad and empty. "Nathan, is there anything I can do, or will you never forgive me? I'm moving on with my life. I hope you can, too." She was silent for a long moment. "Next month is the anniversary of Mom's death. Are you going back?" "I'm so sorry I wasn't there 2 years ago." For a second, I was transported back to that day, to that phone call. She had chosen to watch a dog give birth with Marcus and his mother over visiting our own mother's grave on the anniversary of her death. At least Mom still had me. Even in a different country, I always found a way to honor her. Of course I would be there this year. I shook my head. "You don't need to apologize to me. You should be telling Mom." She whispered, "I'm sorry," one more time and left, looking defeated. Rachel walked over and put a hand on my shoulder. "Another admirer?" "No," I said, "just someone I used to know." Seeing my expression, Rachel wisely changed the subject and asked about the next stage of the competition. The semifinals were being held in Paris, and I was beyond excited. I had always dreamed of visiting the city, and now I finally had the chance. A week before I was supposed to leave, I ran into Victoria again. She looked thinner, more fragile, as if a strong wind could blow her away. Her eyes were hollow, and there was a sadness clinging to her that she couldn't shake. "Nathan, I heard you're going to Paris for the competition. Congratulations." I nodded briefly, not wanting to engage. "I know you don't want to talk to me, but I need to tell you something." She paused, taking a shaky breath. "Mom's brownstone. I've been restoring it. Everything is exactly as it was. The furniture, the photos, even the garden. I thought maybe one day you'd want to see it." I felt a flicker of something, but I pushed it down. "You should have thought about that before you gave it away." Her face crumpled, but she nodded. "I know. I just wanted you to know it's there, waiting for you, whenever you're ready." She turned and walked away, her shoulders hunched against the cold. The day I left for Paris, I noticed Amber standing near the airport entrance. She didn't approach me, just watched from a distance. Our eyes met for a brief moment, and I saw the pain etched in her features. Then I looked away and walked through the gates. Paris was everything I had imagined and more. The competition was intense, but I poured my heart and soul into my presentation. When the results were announced, I had placed second overall, a remarkable achievement that opened doors I had never thought possible. After the awards ceremony, I stayed in Paris for a few extra days, wandering the streets, visiting museums, and just soaking in the atmosphere. For the first time in years, I felt truly at peace. When I returned home, I found a package waiting outside my door. Inside was a thick envelope containing the deed to my mother's brownstone, fully restored and transferred back to my name. There was also a handwritten letter from Victoria. "Nathan, I can never undo what I did. I can never bring back the time I wasted or the hurt I caused. But I can give you back what was always yours. This house belongs to you. It always did. I'm not asking for forgiveness or for a second chance. I just want you to have what Mom left you. I hope someday you'll find happiness again. Your sister, Victoria." I held the letter for a long time, feeling a complicated mix of emotions. Then I carefully folded it and put it away. A month later, on the anniversary of my mother's death, I flew back to New York. I went to her grave alone, bringing her favorite flowers and spending the afternoon talking to her about everything that had happened. As I was leaving the cemetery, I saw two figures standing in the distance. Amber and Victoria. They were both holding flowers, waiting their turn to visit my mother's grave. They saw me, but neither of them approached. Victoria raised her hand in a small, sad wave. Amber just stood there, tears streaming down her face. I nodded once, acknowledging them, then turned and walked away. 6 months later, I received an invitation to exhibit my work at a prestigious design showcase in Milan. My career was flourishing, and I had built a life filled with purpose and passion. One evening, as I was packing for the trip, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. It was a photo of the three of us as children, laughing in my mother's garden. Beneath it, a simple message: I will always love my little brother. I'm sorry I forgot that. Victoria. I stared at the photo for a long time, remembering the children we used to be, before everything fell apart. Then I saved it to my phone and replied with 3 words: I know. Goodbye. I never heard from them again. Years passed. I continued to thrive in my career, traveling the world and creating designs that won acclaim and recognition. I fell in love with a kind, talented architect named Claire, and we built a beautiful life together. Sometimes, late at night, I would think about Amber and Victoria. I wondered if they had found peace, if they had moved on, if they ever stopped regretting what they had lost. But those thoughts became less frequent as time went on, fading like old photographs left too long in the sun. I kept my mother's brownstone exactly as Victoria had restored it, visiting a few times a year to maintain it and remember the woman who had loved me unconditionally. It remained the one link to my past that I cherished. In the end, I realized that forgiveness didn't mean reconciliation. It meant releasing the weight of anger and pain so I could move forward freely. I had forgiven them, not for their sake, but for mine. And in doing so, I had finally found the peace I had been searching for all along. The sun rose each morning, bathing the world in light, and I knew that my new beginning had truly arrived.